the Metaverse. Our last topic for the Metaverse. Mark Zuckerberg, specifically, like obviously all this hype around NFTs and cryptocurrency, it was all kind of leading towards there being this online world where all this money and all these NFTs actually were able to be utilized properly. And obviously Facebook made the transition from Facebook to Meta as a company, and then separated their name from the platform, because Mark Zuckerberg was obviously making a big play towards the Metaverse. Obviously he's seeing that he's losing usership and losing value on Facebook, and made a massive play. He lost $100 billion. He didn't lose that money, but he's lost that in net worth. That is now $100 billion less. Like how crazy is that? That you have an amount that you're worth, and then now you're $100 billion worth less. Imagine waking up with that. But my question to both of you, I don't know who wants to jump in first. Is this move a desperate move? Is this like someone clutching at straws because their empire is kind of disappearing, Facebook? Or is he just a visionary and he's just ahead of his time?
We're not rushing, are we? Well, look, as far as Facebook itself is concerned, it morphed, of course, from being a genuine social platform to a making money platform. Now, it's the first phase of making money was to provide ways for us to make money.
Yeah.
I think now the way Facebook operates, it's there only to make money for shareholders.
Yeah.
And so I don't look at my Facebook account very often at all anymore, maybe once or twice a week. And I suspect that's what's happening with a lot of people, because it's not really a good social platform anymore. And so I think Facebook itself, because it's become so focused now on making money for shareholders, it's become a bit of a nuisance in my life, quite frankly. So I just don't use it, and a lot of people I know hardly use it at all anymore. So I think that's one issue. The whole thing about the Metaverse, I'm not convinced that it's gone beyond a marketing play at this point. But I think the technology is going to be developed. And I don't even pretend to know what he really means by Metaverse. I guess, you can go out into cyberspace and encounter bits and pieces of the Metaverse. I guess that's how it works. So the whole thing hasn't been
That is a perfect explanation, Dr.
clearly
Rod.
demonstrated. Well, you can't
we don't need to talk anymore
into cyberspace. You do it sitting in your chair. But look, I just keep coming back to the fact that this isn't all that different to any other innovation throughout human history.
Yeah.
And it attracts what you might call the cowboys or the Ponzi artists at the beginning, as well as people who are very well-intentioned and make mistakes. There are others who are well-intentioned and they do well. So if we sort of ran to regulation and said we've got to stop this because it's full of cowboys, people are being ripped off, then I think ultimately that would diminish us. And I'm not even saying we've got to live through this. Fundamentally, these things happen because of the fallen nature of humanity. And I hate to keep going back, to this Christian theme, but I'm the business pastor. I can't help it. So, we're going to find evidence of the fallenness of humanity absolutely everywhere, including in this Metaverse. I don't think that is necessarily a reason for us to want to shut it down.
Yeah.
But to develop it redemptively. And I think that should be our heart, Craig. And as Christians, rather than, put a lid on it and stop it, let's say, okay, like so many other innovations throughout human history, let us take this as evidence of God's, I don't call it general grace. It's oh dear me, I've forgotten. It's on the tip of my tongue, but it's a general grace, which is evidence of God's desire to bless the whole of humanity.
Yeah.
Because he loves us all. Now, in the hands of frail, imperfect, sinful human beings, it won't always go right. But I don't think we as Christians should write it off.
Yeah.
Those of us who have the capacity to do so should be in there as agents of redemption. And we should be looking at ways of developing this whole area in such a way as to contribute positively to human flourishing. That's my take on it, but as you know, that's my take on just about everything.
Well, with Erin, obviously talking about Facebook was his money. It was his money cow, right? That's how he was making money. Then with all these restrictions from Apple, they lost all their ability to track people. I know. I coach people on how to use all marketing strategies, Facebook being one of them. And now we actually advise away from it in most cases because you used to be able to target. The advantage of Facebook is I could target a specific person, and I knew not them specifically, but a specific type of person in a specific demographic. But since all these privacy laws came in and every Apple user decided to not share information on the app and everything like that, like all of that, they lost the ability. And me, as well as when they became woke, they also then stopped targeting of certain things, which then made it very difficult to target someone at all. And now it's just almost generalized like a newspaper or television or radio or something like that. So obviously, because they lost that power of being able to target people, they knew that it was because of Apple, because they are just simply at the whim of whatever device they're on. Mark Zuckerberg tried to make this shift to going, let me own the device, because he knows he can't make a phone. They've tried, it failed. But let me make the device, which is the metaverse. Let us create that, and then we're in control of that. And we can't, then our income is no longer at the risk of someone else. What's your take on that approach? And do you think that it was the right play, too early, too expensive? Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, there's a lot of big questions there, hey, and I think the fact that these privacy laws came into effect really, to me, is just evidence that the tide was turning on people's willingness to be tracked and targeted in that way, and those laws really just kind of reflect that. So I think it was already falling out of favor. And I think to Dr. Rod's point, I think when Zuckerberg went from kind of creating the best product he could that actually did connect people, and it moved more towards, well, how much advertising revenue and therefore shareholder value can we create? When it became just predominantly about that, I think that's when the wheels started to fall off. And in much the same way as our friend Mr. Ponzi perhaps started with some good intentions, he fell victim to greed, and we can see obviously that's had a huge effect on him. So to me, I guess the question really is just about, okay, so, Mark Zuckerberg's possibly the tides of public perception have perhaps turned on that business model. Can he reinvent himself and reinvent his technology in a way that does some good for the world, is actually disruptive, and actually brings new real value? Can he do it a second time? I think it's kind of almost like a reset for him now. Obviously, he's got many more resources and network behind him now than when he first started Facebook.
It's
There's also got a lot of
not on a college dorm floor, room floor at the moment.
He also probably has a few more barriers in terms of the way that people view him. I think there's a lot of, not necessarily a lot of fond feelings towards him in various different communities and sectors. So to me, it's really can he actually reinvent himself and his business again in a way that's actually sustainable and provides good value for the world. And it's a big ask to do it twice. So we'll see.
Yeah, is it that old story of a celebrity like trying to hold on to their celebrity just a little bit too long? I think actually it's funny you both mentioned that it was the shareholders and the need to please the shareholders, which is the driver. I kind of disagree with it just a little bit. And here's how I disagree. Marketers ruin everything. I'm at fault. I teach marketing. I get my clients to do marketing. I understand marketing. I've been a marketer for years, and at the early stages, you see a great opportunity. Facebook was cheap to advertise and easy. It was so easy for every person to do it, and it was just easy to target the right people, and it worked. And then because it worked, then everyone did it, and then so many Facebook ad agencies popped up over everywhere, and they just ruined it because people got sick of it, right? Because then people understood, oh, now that's how much I'm being tracked. You open up Facebook and you're like, hang on, I just visited that website. How do they know? Well, because everyone's tracking you, right? And I just believe that marketers ruin everything. And there was a great thing in Facebook, and marketers ruined it. Now, obviously, it was their play. That was their long-term vision of making money from it. But how do we then let's turn this back onto, because none of us would be. I don't wish this upon you. Let me say, I hope that you get to a point where you have $100 billion worth that you could theoretically lose, but I pray that you don't. But none of us currently have $100 billion to lose. What can we learn about this as leaders? There's obviously some pivots. There's the appearance, like the appearance in his public appearance, I suppose, and the organization, and then the shift now to this new thing and being a visionary. He was a visionary once. Can he be a visionary twice? Is he too early? Will he just burn up money? Like all this. What can we learn as business owners that are caught in a business that is starting to struggle because tides have changed, public perception has changed? How do we make a pivot at the right time to the right thing?
I wish I knew because I'd jump in with the answer. Look, I honestly, the only tiny bit of wisdom I have to offer here is look to the long term. Make your decisions right from the start with the sustainability of the business in mind into the long term. So don't allow your thinking to be clouded by opportunities to make a lot of money over the short term without thinking really, really carefully about what this might mean in the long term.
Yeah, that's good. Erin?
Yeah, I'd certainly echo that. I think long-term sustainability has to be the guiding principle. And I don't know what the thing is. I don't know what it is that allows people to reinvent themselves. Like you see it with something like the music industry, which is like the vast majority of people, it's like they might come out with one song or one album and then you never see them again. But there's a handful of people who just seem to be able to reinvent themselves. There's an instinct or there's an intuition. There's just a creative spark of some description that allows them to do that. And whether they're just able to kind of read signs of the times better, whether they're just more passionate, whether there's just a stronger desire to like express themselves. I don't know exactly what the differentiation is. Maybe it's just talent. But for whatever reason, some people are just able to do that, and the test is time. We'll see with Mark over time, I think, if that's the case for him.
That's good.
And look, I think also, you know, as Christians, don't be too upset if you make a mistake.
That's good.
You know, we'd like to think that we've got the wisdom of the Holy Spirit, and we listen to God, and that we never put a foot wrong. I have known far too many Christian entrepreneurs who have become bankrupt. And I don't see that that's a result of sin or lack of wisdom. But, you know, the very word entrepreneur literally means risk taker.
Yeah, that's good.
A good entrepreneur employs prudence to try to assess the potential outcomes of any risk that they take. They are taking a risk. And I've known so many who at one time or other in their experience as entrepreneurs, they've lost a lot of money. You know, I've known some who have lost a literal fortune, multiple hundreds of millions of dollars. This was during the global financial crisis. Another who was actually involved in a finance business, and they actually needed to be financed themselves. And in the global financial crisis, they had a deal ready to go. It all fell through when now they didn't cause the global financial crisis. That wasn't caused by their sin or their lack of wisdom. They were just participating in a fallen world, like all of us do. So, you know, we're not always going to get it right. That's actually okay.
Yeah.
As long as we have stuck to our values, our biblically based values, it's okay. And what you do is you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you start yourself over again. Most entrepreneurs are what I call serial entrepreneurs. They get into one thing after another. Some succeed and some don't. You know, if you don't succeed, that is actually quite okay.
Yeah, I think that's good. Because, you know, going back to a couple of things we kind of alluded to today, but work is worship, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, yes, we need to be diligent in that work, but if it's not successful, that's okay, as you're saying, Dr. Rod. It's how do we handle ourselves? How do we carry ourselves throughout that? Because we can still influence people with that. I think going on to what can we learn from this Mark Zuckerberg situation is, yes, be looking long-term like he is. He's looking really long-term. And who knows how good it's, hopefully he's done the budget and know that he's got the finances to be able to carry himself through that. But look, we need to be constantly looking towards a future in our organization, in our industry, making sure we're make sure we're well informed in our industry. I think one of the biggest challenges I see when coaching businesses or with some businesses I've been involved in, they've found a way that works and they've just stuck with it. And yes, that's good. But the problem is, as soon as things change, they're not ready because they've just been doing the same thing over and over again. They've been using the same old strategies. It's worked for them, but they've gotten comfortable. There's this saying, the enemy of great is not bad. The enemy of great is good, right? So sometimes if you're doing good, we can get comfortable and not push ourselves to innovate and change and look at new ways of doing things. We kind of get stuck in a rut and stuck in old ways of doing things. And this is across our ministry, this is across business, this is across all areas of our life. We can just get caught up in doing things the old way. And so my encouragement to you is constantly be looking at ways you can evolve. Hey, you've just watched an excerpt from the On the Cube Leadership Podcast. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If it challenged your leadership or inspired you in some way, put a comment below. And if you want to watch the full episode or more content like this, check out our channel. And hey, consider subscribing while you're there.